Chapter 1, The Return of Humanity. The Phoenix drifted through the obsidian void like a ghost from humanity's forgotten past, her hull scarred by centuries of exile and hastily welded repairs. Commander Elias Hart stood at the helm, his weathered hands gripping the command console as if it were the last anchor to his sanity. The bridge hummed with nervous energy, crew members checking and rechecking their stations, their faces pale in the blue glow of the tactical displays. 300 years, the number burned in Elias's mind like a brand. 300 years since the Dominion had driven humanity from Earth, scattered them across the galaxy like seeds in a cosmic wind. He could still see the faces of those left behind, his sister's tear-streaked cheeks, his father's defiant salute as the evacuation ships departed. The guilt gnawed at him, a constant companion through the long years of hiding, rebuilding, surviving. "Commander," Navigation Officer Chen called out, her voice tight with tension. "We're approaching the outer perimeter of Dominion space." Elias nodded, his jaw clenched. The Phoenix had been reconstructed from the bones of 3 different warships, a patchwork titan held together by human ingenuity and sheer desperation. She wasn't pretty, but she was theirs, the first strike back at the empire that had stolen their home. Then the proximity alarm shrieked. "Distress signal, bearing 27 Mark IV, Communications Officer Torres announced, his fingers dancing across his console. It's from a Dominion outpost." The bridge fell silent. Elias stared at the tactical display, watching the pulsing red dot that represented their enemy's cry for help. His reflection stared back from the darkened viewport, hollow eyes, graying temples, the face of a man who had lost everything and found purpose in that loss. "Set course for the signal's origin," Elias commanded, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. It's time they remembered what humanity is capable of. As the Phoenix adjusted its heading, Elias felt the weight of history pressing down on him. This wasn't just a mission anymore, it was the first step in reclaiming everything they had lost. But deep in his heart, he knew that once they fired the first shot, there would be no turning back. The war they were about to reignite would consume everything in its path. Chapter 2, Strike Fast, Strike Hard. The Phoenix hung in space like a predator stalking its prey, accompanied by a ragtag fleet of smaller vessels, corvettes and fighters cobbled together from salvaged Dominion technology and human determination. Each ship bore the scars of their exile, but they moved with deadly purpose toward the isolated outpost that glowed like a distant star against the cosmic darkness. Weapons Officer Mira Voss ran her fingers along the firing controls, her knuckles white with tension. At 28, she had never seen the Earth her parents spoke of in whispered bedtime stories, but she carried their fury in her heart. "Defensive grids are minimal," she reported, her voice steady despite the storm raging in her chest. 2 patrol craft, automated sentries. It's almost too easy. "Easy victories don't exist in war," Elias replied, studying the tactical readouts. The outpost was a standard Dominion construction, angular, efficient, arrogant in its assumption of safety. But something felt wrong. The silence around them was too complete, too perfect. Sergeant Marcus Reyes, the grizzled ground commander, shifted uncomfortably at his station. His cybernetic left arm, a souvenir from the last desperate battles of the old war, hummed with barely contained energy. "Sir, my gut's telling me this is a trap. The Dominion doesn't leave their installations this exposed." Before Elias could respond, the long-range sensors erupted in warnings. "Multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace." Chen shouted. "Dominion cruisers, at least 4, no, 6 contacts." The outpost's distress signal hadn't been a cry for help, it had been bait. Mira's hands hovered over her controls, her training warring with the fear that threatened to paralyze her. "Commander, should we retreat? We're outnumbered 3-1. Elias felt the familiar weight of command settle on his shoulders like a lead blanket. Every face on the bridge looked to him, young souls who had never known the taste of their homeworld's air but were willing to die for the chance to breathe it. The Phoenix groaned around them, her hull plates singing with anticipation. "No," he said, his voice carrying the authority of 3 centuries of exile. "We came here to send a message. Today, the Dominion learns that humanity has returned. He turned to Mira, his eyes blazing with controlled fury. All weapons, full spread. We do this now. No turning back. Chapter 3, the first battle space erupted in brilliant violence as the Phoenix unleashed her fury. Plasma cannons traced lines of destruction across the void while the smaller human vessels danced between the Dominion cruisers like wolves harrying a pack of bears. The enemy ships responded with their own devastating barrage, turning the star-speckled darkness into a hellscape of energy and twisted metal. The Phoenix shuddered under a direct hit, sparks cascading from overloaded consoles. Hull breach on Deck 7. Torres shouted over the din of battle. Emergency teams responding. Elias gripped his command chair as another salvo rocked the ship. Through the chaos, he watched his crew perform with the desperate efficiency of those who had nothing left to lose. But the Dominion forces were pressing their advantage, their superior numbers beginning to tell. Mira, target the lead cruiser's communication array, Elias ordered. Cut them off from reinforcements. But Mira's hands moved to different controls, her eyes locked on the tactical display. Negative, Commander. I'm reading massive energy signatures from those reinforcement ships. If we don't take them out now, we'll be overwhelmed. That's not the mission. Elias snapped. We need to. The weapons officer's finger stabbed down on the firing control. The Phoenix's main cannon spoke with the voice of thunder, sending a concentrated beam of destruction not at the communication hub, but directly into the formation of reinforcement vessels. The lead ship exploded in a brilliant nova, its destruction chain reacting through two others. Mira, what have you done? Elias whispered, staring at the expanding debris field. I did what needed to be done, Commander, she replied, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. I saved us all. The remaining Dominion ships, shocked by the devastating counterattack, began to retreat. But as the Phoenix's crew celebrated their Pyrrhic victory, Elias felt only the bitter taste of betrayal. The mission had been to strike at the Dominion's communications, to announce humanity's return. Instead, they had simply added more bodies to the endless count of war. Chapter 4, The Betrayal. The Phoenix drifted in the aftermath of battle, her hull scarred and smoking but intact. In the ship's war room, Elias confronted Mira across a holographic display that showed the tactical replay of their engagement. The blue light cast harsh shadows across both their faces. You disobeyed a direct order, Elias said, his voice barely above a whisper. 300 years of planning, of preparation, and you threw it all away for a few enemy ships. Mira stood rigid, her hands clasped behind her back. I made a tactical decision, sir. Those reinforcements would have destroyed us. That's not your call to make. Elias slammed his fist on the table, causing the hologram to flicker. You're a weapons officer, not a strategist. Not a commander. Then maybe you should have been a better commander, Mira shot back, her composure finally cracking. Maybe you should have seen what I saw, that your precious mission was going to get us all killed for the sake of sending a message to an enemy that doesn't care about our pain. The words hung in the air like a physical blow. Elias felt the weight of 3 centuries pressing down on him, the faces of everyone he had failed flashing through his mind. But before he could respond, Torres's voice crackled over the comm system. Commander, we're receiving a priority transmission. It's from a Dominion High Command frequency. Elias and Mira exchanged a look of confusion and dread. Put it through. The hologram flickered and resolved into the image of a Dominion admiral, his scaled features twisted with what might have been fear. Human vessel, this is Admiral Kethvar of the Dominion Second Fleet. We must speak immediately. Your attack has awakened something that threatens us all. Mira stepped forward, her face pale. Sir, I should tell you, I've been intercepting Dominion transmissions for months. There's something else out there, something that's been consuming their outer worlds. The distress signal we responded to, it wasn't from the outpost. It was from the hive mind. Elias felt the ground shift beneath his feet. The hive mind? An ancient enemy that the Dominion has been fighting in secret, Mira continued. They've been losing, Commander. And now, because of our attack, because of the chaos we've caused, the hive mind is moving toward the one target they've always wanted, Earth. The revelation hit Elias like a physical blow. Everything they had planned, everything they had sacrificed, had been based on incomplete information. The Dominion wasn't just their enemy, they were humanity's unwilling guardians against something far worse. Chapter 5, The Choice. The Phoenix's conference room had become a crucible of impossible decisions. Elias paced before the main display, which showed the tactical situation across 3 star systems. Red markers indicated hive mind incursions, blue showed Dominion defensive positions, and a single green dot marked their own location, caught between 2 forces that could each destroy them. You're suggesting we ally with the beings who destroyed our world? Sergeant Reyes asked, his cybernetic arm clicking with agitation. The same monsters who scattered us across the galaxy like vermin? Mira leaned forward, her hands spread on the table. I'm suggesting we survive, Marcus. The hive mind doesn't negotiate, doesn't take prisoners. It consumes everything. Admiral Kethvar's image flickered in the hologram, his alien features drawn with exhaustion. Commander Hart, my fleet is in full retreat from the Kepler sector. The hive mind has consumed 17 worlds in the past month. If they reach Earth, they'll find nothing but ruins, Elias finished, his voice hollow. We destroyed our own homeworld rather than let you have it. No, Kethvar said quietly. Your people terraformed the moon bases, created underground cities. There are still humans there, Hart. Millions of them, hidden in the deep places, waiting for your return. The revelation struck the room like a thunderbolt. Elias gripped the edge of the table, his knuckles white. That's impossible. The evacuation ships took less than 1/10 of your population, the Admiral continued. The rest went underground, into the deep shelters your engineers built. They've been waiting for 3 centuries, Commander. Waiting for you to come home. Mira stood, her face set with determination. Then we have to protect them. Even if it means working with the Dominion. I won't betray everything we've fought for, Elias said, but his voice lacked conviction. The weight of command had never felt heavier, the choice never more impossible. Reyes spoke up, his voice gruff with emotion. Sir, if there are humans still on Earth, still alive, then our duty is clear. We protect our own, no matter the cost. Elias looked around the room at the faces of his crew, young, old, battle-scarred, hopeful. They had followed him across the galaxy, trusted him with their lives and their dreams of home. Now he had to choose between the vengeance that had sustained them and the mercy that might save them all. Signal all ships, he said finally. We're changing course. Set heading for Earth. And Admiral Kethvar, will talk. Chapter 6, The Final Move. The combined human-Dominion fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system like a metal storm given form. The Phoenix led the formation, her battle-scarred hull gleaming with fresh armor plating hastily welded in place during the journey. Behind her, Dominion cruisers flew alongside human corvettes in an alliance forged from desperation and mutual need. But they were too late. Earth hung before them like a dying ember, its surface crawling with the organic nightmare of hive mind structures. The moon bases Elias had dreamed of reclaiming were dark and silent, their surfaces covered in the same writhing biomass that had consumed a dozen worlds. Massive energy signatures throughout the system, Chen reported, her voice tight with horror. The hive mind has been here for weeks, maybe months. They're harvesting. Elias stood at the viewport, watching his homeworld die. The blue marble of his ancestors' stories was now a twisted thing of organic metal and pulsing flesh. But deep beneath the surface, according to Dominion intelligence, the deep shelters still held out. Millions of humans, the last remnants of Earth's population, fighting a losing battle against an enemy that consumed everything in its path. All ships, battle formation, Elias commanded. We're going in. The fleet plunged into the solar system like a spear thrust into the heart of darkness. Hive mind vessels rose to meet them, things that had once been ships but were now part of a vast, living organism. The battle was unlike anything in Elias's experience. These weren't enemies to defeat, but infections to burn away. The Phoenix shuddered under a direct hit from a bioship, its hull plate screaming as acid ate through the armor. Hull breach on multiple decks. Torres shouted. We're losing atmospheric pressure. Redirect all power to shields, Elias ordered. We have to reach the surface. But even as they fought, more hive mind vessels emerged from Earth's atmosphere. The fleet was being overwhelmed, torn apart by an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with every ship they destroyed. Commander, Mira called out, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. I'm reading massive structural damage. The Phoenix can't take much more. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, a new voice crackled over the comm system. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We're reading friendly signals in orbit. Is anyone still human up there? The bridge fell silent. Captain Chen, could it be? Elias remembered her from the old war, a young lieutenant who had stayed behind to coordinate the evacuation. Now her voice carried the weight of 3 centuries of desperate survival. Sarah, this is Elias Hart. We've come home. About damn time, came the reply, and despite everything, Elias found himself smiling. We've got a plan, Elias. But it's going to require everything you've got. Chapter 7. The war is just beginning. The Phoenix hung in space above Earth, her hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere into the void. The battle had been won, but at terrible cost. Half the fleet was gone, consumed by the hive mind or torn apart in the desperate fighting. But the deep shelters had been reached, their populations evacuated to the surviving ships. Elias stood in the observation deck, watching the last of the evacuation shuttles dock with the refugee vessels. Earth was lost, they had managed to deny it to the hive mind, but the world of his birth was now a radioactive wasteland, its surface scoured clean by the combined firepower of human and Dominion forces. The survivors are asking about the colonies, Mira reported, joining him at the viewport. They want to know if we're going to find a new home. We are home, Elias replied, gesturing to the fleet around them. This is what humanity looks like now, not tied to a single world, but spread across the stars. The Dominion has offered us sanctuary in the outer territories, a chance to rebuild. And you trust them? Elias considered the question. Admiral Kethvar had proven honorable, but trust was a luxury humanity could no longer afford. I trust that we have a common enemy. The hive mind won't stop with Earth. It will consume everything, Dominion and human alike. As if summoned by his words, Chen appeared at his side. Long-range sensors are picking up new hive mind movements in the Vega sector. They're massing for another assault. Elias nodded, feeling the familiar weight of command settling on his shoulders. The Phoenix would need months of repairs, the fleet would need time to integrate the Earth survivors, and the alliance with the Dominion would require careful nurturing. But there was no time for rest, no time for mourning. Signal all ships, he commanded. Set course for the Vega sector. We may have one today, but tomorrow. He paused, looking out at the stars that had become humanity's new home. Tomorrow, the Real fight begins. The Phoenix and her escorts began their slow turn away from Earth, carrying the last remnants of humanity into an uncertain future. Behind them, the scarred world spun silently in the void, a monument to the cost of survival and the price of coming home. But ahead lay the stars, infinite and welcoming, promising new worlds to explore and new enemies to face. The war was far from over, it was just beginning. Asterisk in the depths of space, ancient things stirred. The hive mind had tasted human resolve and found it interesting. The harvest would continue, but now it would be personal. The Phoenix had awakened something that had slumbered for millennia, and the galaxy would never be the same, asterisk.